Do companies that focus on design outpace the markets long term? It's a good question. And your next guest says yes. She is out with a new research that shows that some design-centric companies have been able to outperform the S&P by 228% over the past decade. It sounds very specific, doesn't it? Well, let's bring in Janine Ray, CEO of Montiv Strategies, and also our very own Herb Greenberg. Janine, it sounds interesting, but at the same time, just a little bit wonky. So try and take the wonk out of it very briefly for us and explain how you came to this conclusion.
Very good. Thanks, Mandy. My company, Montiv Strategies, teamed up with the Design Management Institute to create this index. The Design Management Institute is a professional organization that represents designers from all over the world. And what we wanted to see was whether companies that invested in design actually did better than companies that were, the average in the S&P. And what we did was we had started with a basket of about 75 companies and culled 15 of those companies out based on a set of very rigorous criteria that we developed for companies that really are highly invested in design.
Okay, is this an intellectual property trade in some ways?
An intellectual property trade? I don't think I understand.
Okay, so if you're Herman Miller and you've got a chair, right? And that's a design feature, you're going to patent that chair. If you're Starbucks, you may patent the way certain parts of your store look, trademark certain other parts. A lot of this stuff also could just be protection from competition into your branding and design.
Well, it's true, and that's one way to think about design. But when we think about companies that have great design capabilities, they can do so much more. What they do is they spend a lot more time with their customers. They do design research. They do creation. They drive innovation. They prototype. They test with customers. They do a lot of things that other companies don't necessarily do because they're not switched on about design as much as these companies are.
And some of the companies that you have singled out, you've got like 15 out of 100 that you really are focusing on, like Apple, Coca-Cola, Ford, Herman Miller, and IBM. But Herb, what do you make of this? Do you agree or disagree with the basic principle?
Well, as a sucker, or that is fan of anything design-oriented, I like the concept because, on one level, because an investor can see that, and that, it's something they can feel, touch, they maybe use. But I was stopped in my tracks here, Janine, when I saw IBM. It's the last company I think of when I think of design. So I don't understand the explain. I'm stumped.
Okay, Herb, don't forget, the first person that said good design, good business was Tom Watson, who is the CEO of IBM. And IBM has a long, maybe the longest history of being invested in design of any of these companies. They have had capabilities for a very long time. They've done a lot of work against their brand for years and years. When they were developing products, the PCs, et cetera, they had famous designers working on those and a great design team. And today they've turned their head towards interaction design, which is, they're more services and software. And they're training people in design methods, normal people, not designers, in the way designers think.
Well,
so they can be more creative.
Herb?
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. No, I was just going to say, I think the one thing you have to look at, though, is beyond the design, and that is, are these companies actually growing? Are people buying the stocks because they love the products, or is there actually something really good going on with sales?
I know you drink your double pump, non-soy, extra fat, whatever it is, latte. You would not pay $6 for that if Starbucks looked like a kindergarten room, if it was yellow and orange plastic.
Unless it really was very good. Of course, that draws you in because it's more than just the design.
You pay for the experience.
You wouldn't have walked in there in the first place.
You pay for the experience. That's why you get the massages where there's the red velvet and the candles, and not when you have to walk down the stairs.
I also pay for quality, Brian.
That's true.
Okay.
Quality shirt.
Janine, it's a really interesting concept. Thank you very much for explaining it to us. And Herb, great to see you, buddy. It's been a long time.
Glad you talked about the experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you.